Thank you so much. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Senior Corps Virtual Conference closing session. I am joined by Sherry McClintock, our Massachusetts State Program Director. Sherry is a talented colleague and has been a lead staff in helping us to present this virtual conference. Here, we have dedicated some time to celebrating and reflecting on the conference, as well as examining your input and feedback so that we can be more informed of your needs as we refine our 2015 training and technical assistance plans. As noted on the slide, our session objectives today are to review key conference metrics such as attendance, to learn what the virtual conference features you found most helpful, to discuss the feedback you have shared via the different input platforms prior to this session, and to explore issues that could inform our training and technical assistance plans in 2015. Now, let's get started. During this session, please use the chat feature to record all comments, observations, and questions that you want us to consider as we plan the 2015 training and technical assistance year. You will be able to see the questions and comments of others in a running stream. We will comment on and answer as many questions as possible during our session time, and we'll do our best to respond to your input. As always, we may have limited time to get to everyone's question. So if you have a burning question that is not answered, please send it by email to, you see the email addresses on the screen. Go ahead and make sure you make note of that. We'll repeat them later so that you will know where you can send follow-up questions. Let's take a moment to reflect on Senior Corps as a group of programs and what we have, just some highlights of what we accomplished in 2013. Together, our Senior Corps grantees and volunteers, our participants here at the virtual conference, have delivered just under 75 million hours of service in the community. In FGP, 23.4 million hours to 196,000 children. 10.7 million hours of SCP services to 46,750 clients. 39.3 million hours of RSVP services through more than 38,000 community organizations that serve as volunteer stations. This is a tremendous accomplishment for all of us, for all of you, and I just want to take the opportunity again for all of us from Senior Corps and CS to thank you for delivering so much needed service and benefits in the community. Now, let's talk about what happened in the last 2 days. Sherry, over to you.
So we're going to start with the basics. How many people attended this year's virtual conference? We're so pleased about the overall level of participation in the 2014 virtual conference. We had 1,383 individuals participate in the conference, attending various sessions, both live and on demand, viewing e-courses, networking in the lounge, downloading materials, visiting the exhibit booths, and using other features of the virtual conference environment. We actually had 1,797 individuals register for the conference, and we had a 77% participation rate just over the past 2 days. This number compares to 1,508 individuals who registered for the 2013 conference. We hope you enjoyed experience all of the various features at your disposal. Now, this is where the fun begins. We invite you to share via chat your favorite features of the virtual conference. Please go ahead and share now in the chat box, and we're going to pause for a moment. So I'm going to ask Susan if she could share some of the things that are coming in via chat.
I think everybody can see the chat, but it's somebody's commented on it. There are 5 different comments on 5 different things now at the moment, which is one of the favorite things I like about this is that there are so many different things to appeal to different people. People also over and over again have commented about being able to save things electronically and use them for staff training. And there's a comment about great pre-recorded sessions and e-courses, and of course that's just great because we want this to be a piece of a year-round training support for grantees. That's what there is.
Outstanding. Now, since we're looking at the future of the conference and future of training, we would like to ask you to comment on what feature you find most important to keep in future events. So if you wouldn't mind chatting that in. And Susan, what are some of the big ones that we're receiving?
People like the e-courses and the ability to go back and get things on demand or review things on demand and to put them in their briefcases. E-courses get mentioned over and over again. The content of various sessions the format of various sessions get mentioned in terms of the way the sessions provided examples and checklists and case studies. Here's one that says, I like the polling feature. People like the flexibility to see the sessions when I could and save the library items later.
Susan, this is Angela. I've seen several go by that say they really enjoy the Q&A sessions as well.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
This is all great feedback. Now we're going to move into the session attendance, and some of the highest level of participation in some of the live sessions was at the Managing Non-Federal Funds Match and In Kind. We actually had 649 attendees participate in that session. The other sessions that were highly attended were the Meet the Inspector General Fraud and Audit Awareness Briefing with 618 participants. Criminal History, Checks, Rules, and Regulations came in with 580 attendees participating. The average participant attended 2.5 live sessions. How did everyone's personal attendance compare to these metrics? Were you within 2 live sessions, higher? Please chat in your answer now.
Yeah, a lot of people are chatting in higher, and the 2.5 was the first day. So if people are adding in today, then they would be higher than 2.5.
Okay.
And did all live sessions. Wow.
All right. We did have many more live sessions this year. Next, we're going to review some of the key conference metrics. So we had on this slide, we're showing that we have 77% of our registrants attend the conference, and we had 4,272 documents downloaded and saved, as well as 261 one-on-one chats, 248 emails sent within the conference, 519 badges were awarded. And just want to give a good shout out to Raven McCready. She is from Audubon Area Community Services. She was our big winner with 6 badges. Congratulations, Raven. We'll try to add more badges for you to collect next year. So we have been discussing thus far your use of the conference features and your session attendance. Now we're going to turn over to assessments and surveys, the official mechanism for how you tell us what you learned and your evaluation of your experience. As you know, throughout the conference, we ask you to complete satisfaction surveys and knowledge assessments. The results from the assessments and surveys will be tabulated and presented in the final report of the conference, which will be posted on the National Service Knowledge Network in September. So 474 satisfaction surveys were completed for an average of 43 per session. 273 knowledge assessment surveys were also completed. If you have not completed the satisfaction survey and knowledge assessments, please do so now so we can report a comprehensive picture of your experience. Surveys and assessments will be open until August 15th. Once again, don't feel like you've missed the boat. You can still complete your survey and the assessment of the conference. You have until August 15th. Now we'd like to pause to address some of your questions raised during this session thus far. We've been reviewing your comments that you've sent in during the session. Let us pause here to answer a couple of your questions. I'm going to ask Susan if there's any questions in our box right now.
Here's a comment I'd like a little clarification on. It says, make session surveys a part of the live session with the polling. Does that mean that in the platform, the fact that the surveys were under one tab and didn't come up automatically at the end of the session? Is that what you're suggesting ought to happen? Would people comment on whether it worked for them to have a separate place to go to fill out surveys, or whether they'd rather have them appear right at the end of the session? We also have one that says would like the chat rooms broken up more. And if people had comments about the value of message boards versus chats, and if you had any preferences or experiences about that, that would be helpful to know more about. The chats are the running conversations, and the message boards, you could respond to particular people or topics specifically. Yeah, thanks for the feedback about surveys at the end of the session. That's helpful. I wish we could see who are in the sessions with us. Yeah. Forgot to do some of the surveys. Go back and do them, please. Was there in general not enough time in between sessions, or just not enough time to do the surveys? Some comments about that would be helpful too. Here's a comment that says, would like to see the presenter. Yeah, we all would. That's on my list for next year. That's partly a bandwidth problem, but yeah, that seems to me the next logical improvement. Thanks for the comments about time between sessions. That's helpful. One of the things I like about this is it's all in writing, and so it's not on messy flip charts. It's not something somebody thinks they heard. We have every word you've put in here, and we will use them all. Thank you. Oh, yeah, I can't even read all this. There's so much of it. This is great. Thank you. I will go over every line of this.
Okay, and after we're out of the session, if people still have questions that they want answers to, again, you can send it to that Senior Corps Virtual Conference, CONF, at cns.gov, and we will get back to you. So Using your input to shape 2015, during the session thus far, we've presented some key metrics regarding your session attendance and other activities during the virtual conference. Now I want to try to understand better what appear to be the key items for the Senior Corps Training and Technical Assistance planning for 2015. Before this closing session today, we asked you to provide feedback on your experience in the virtual conference thus far. So as of about noon today, we collected the information. Thank you to each of you who have provided input. We summarized this data and have extracted the most significant topics that could influence our training plans for 2015. We're going to discuss some of these topics now and explore a little more in depth. So our first topic is multi-source information. Having the agenda and viewing it in advance was a big one that we received feedback on. And how far in advance do we need it? If people wouldn't mind using the chat feature and give us a sense as to how far in advance would you like to see the agenda? Okay, and if people felt if they had enough time browsing and downloading resources, the information is going to be left within the conference environment, and you can still go back. You can still have your colleagues go on if they missed one of the e-courses and take that e-course. So the material will still be there. It's going to be there until early September. Is that enough time? If you can chime in, that would be terrific. And having opportunities to exchange information, we had chats, presenter Q&A, the exhibit hall, the chat rooms. Some people were saying were a wealth of information. It was a great place to share ideas. And we have the capability. There was one example yesterday. We heard your feedback. It's a virtual conference in the new project directors session where it was a message board, and since it is a virtual environment, we were able to change that over to a chat for today's session. So we can make changes like that. And other comments that we received, adequate opportunities provided that those questions not answered will be aggregated and addressed at a later date. We will take those questions that weren't addressed, we will put them in the library, and we will put them over into the exhibit hall booth that they relate to. And one piece of data that we do have, we asked the question if there was enough time to ask your questions, and 78% of the respondents said yes. Susan, I don't know if there's anything that came in on the chat that you would like to address.
There's a chat that says that asks if the documents will be posted permanently, and the answer is yes. Many of them are already on the Knowledge Network, and certainly by the time the virtual conference platform closes on September 5th, all of them will be over on the Knowledge Network. The benefit of downloading them to your briefcase before September 5th is that you don't have to go looking for them on the Knowledge Network later. But everything will be posted, so you should be able to find it, or let us know if you can't. We'll help you find it.
Okay. And Angela, I'm going to pass it over to you for topic number 2.
Very good, thank you. Topic number 2 addresses different learning styles. As you can see on the slide, 65% of our participants reported that it was a good balance between the on-demand and live sessions, and 15% wanted more live sessions. 46% prefer live sessions, 25% prefer on-demand, and 28% have no preference. This is a comment we received that we think is worth highlighting, and it reads, since we all learn at different levels, being able to secure the written presentation information is more valuable than you can imagine. The majority of my staff are senior volunteers, and they appreciate having reading materials to take home and view in their leisure time. This is helpful because we do have to keep in mind as we look at different ways to present important training content that there are a lot of different methods, but there are a lot of different learning styles. Can we just have folks respond for just a moment about their own reaction to the different options available? Did this slate of learning opportunities meet what you think is your style? Go ahead and chat in if you get a moment. Okay. And I can see a variety of responses coming in that for the most part, we had a good balance, but I did see some comments that nothing will ever replace face-to-face. There are, again, many different styles, and it's all valuable input for us. Sherry, I'm going to pass back to you on topic 3.
Okay. So topic 3, we have the virtual conference advantages. I spoke earlier about making real-time adjustments, changing a message board over to a chat. We have 93% of participation reported they viewed content that they can use in training their own staff, can immediately download resources, information, and print transcripts to accompany their notes, and cross-country networking, information exchange. You can meet up with old friends and not have to pay for airline tickets. So a lot of what was also provided to us, some of the comments that we found helpful, one person said, it allowed me to manage my daily tasks and sit-in sessions I truly desired. Question and answer sessions were windows into how other programs think and operate. Somebody else said different options instead of just listening to a lecture the entire time. That's great, and that's exactly what we had in the chats in the exhibit hall. We had the transition of having a presentation on criminal history checks, and then you could personalize it a little bit more by then going into the exhibit hall and asking your own situation and your question on the message board. So it allowed different opportunities throughout the conference. If people wouldn't mind chatting in and telling us other things that they like about the virtual conference, that would be terrific.
Here's a question that says, I did not get the networking. And so I'm wondering does that mean that the virtual conference didn't work for networking purposes for this person, or they didn't do it, or she didn't understand it? A little more clarification about that would be helpful. Could attend in my pajamas.
I was just going to comment on that. Debbie, if you're attending in your pajamas, I wanted to see a picture of you up on the virtual conference in the library in your PJs.
Almost none of my questions asked in the exhibit hall were answered. Does that relate to a specific booth, or Was that a general comment about how the exhibit hall worked for you? Or was it a particular exhibit hall? Seems hard to connect with new people. Yeah, that would be, that's a topic to think about for another time. We tried to make new project directors feel welcome and to help them navigate, but it seems to me like we could do a lot more on that front.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of votes for 3 days. Comments about 3 days? Are there a lot of votes for 3 days?
Mm-hmm.
Networking had to be intentional. That's a good comment. What I'm taking away from this is you're all workaholics.
Did people find preview day helpful? Okay.
Very good feedback, everyone.
Yeah, this is really helpful.
Okay, so Angela, I'm going to pass it back over to you.
Thank you. Okay, everyone, we finished the work that we came here to do, and we hope that you leave having learned things that will improve the important work that you do in your communities. As a reminder, you will have 30 days from today to fill your briefcase and collect helpful references from within the conference environment. The idea is for you to leave the conference with a briefcase full of links and documents that you and your staff will use to spread the learning to everyone who's involved in making sure that vulnerable people are served by staff and participants that have well-documented criminal history checks, budget plans, and budget execution, use the grant resources to support the volunteers in their work in the most efficient and effective ways possible. You've collected a few business cards. You've made a few new acquaintances and renewed old ones so that you will continue to call on peer support in the year ahead. I think that's one thing we can all agree on. We have a very rich peer support and knowledgeable peer environment. All of us here at CNCS, the Senior Corps and our CNCS team, our supporting contractors, have worked very hard to bring this conference experience to you, and we appreciate that you have worked hard to get the most out of it. Our commitment is to continue to improve the National Service Knowledge Network as the 24/7 place to get information and resources that support project management, compliance, and training. And on our Leaving the Conference slide, you saw the Knowledge Network promo, so be sure to keep that in mind, be sure to keep that close, and be sure to utilize the information that is there. And here we are with some summaries of some of the best moments. So let's take a moment before we go back to work and celebrate what we did here and say farewell to colleagues, peers, and friends. Here are some of the best moments that were shared with us. We can all read the slide, but I think that we can say that our first comment here, when you enter a new environment with dread and you exit having learned and were able to fully participate, to look and participate in everything. A highlight for the Office of Inspector General presentation, a feeling that you were really involved in the conference and there, having time to chat. Another call out to the Inspector General for the great style and dynamic voice and training, learning a lot from speakers who are varied and knowledgeable and passionate, being part of a team, an employee who is not alone but part of a larger group, chatting, and then I think we can all agree with this, let's do this again. Thank you from all of us for joining us for this is our third Senior Corps Virtual Conference. We appreciate all of your feedback, all of your time and attention, your careful comments, and the time you spent with us and all of our presenters. Please continue using the environment, sharing, bringing down your materials, giving us comments, filling out your assessment forms, and know that we all send our best wishes to you. Thank you so much.